Hey everyone, welcome to the very first episode of Beyond the Question. I'm your host, Andrew Schuster, and today's guest is Capital Factory founder and executive director, Josh Baer. Josh, thanks for being here.
Glad to be here.
Cool, so let's get started. Tell us a little bit about Capital Factory and what you guys are up to.
Well, Capital Factory is the center of gravity for entrepreneurs here in Austin, Texas, which is really the center of gravity for entrepreneurship all over Texas. It's where 80% of the venture capital goes, and it's now you always ranked the number 1 or 2 top city for entrepreneurship in the country for the past few years.
Great. What's going on with Capital Factory right now? What's the big objective?
You know, we have really established ourselves in Austin. We have over 60,000 square feet where about 1,200 entrepreneurs work in the middle of downtown Austin. There are dozens of events going on every week with thousands of people coming to teach and learn and help each other. And we've created this great ecosystem where people are connecting and growing businesses and connecting to the people and the investors and the companies and customers that they need. And so what we're really focused on now is figuring out how do we take that model that's working so well in Austin and make that work all over Texas. Because Texas is such an interesting market with 4 of the 11 largest cities in the country: Austin, Dallas, Houston, and San Antonio. And if you look at Texas like it was an economy all by itself, it'd be actually the 10th largest country in the world. And so we think Texas is really interesting, and the opportunities are, can we connect these 4 cities together in such a way that there's a synergy, they're really helping each other.
So you guys obviously have a lot going on, a lot of programming, a lot of different ways people could go. So I guess 2 questions on that front. Number 1 would be, how do you define your target audience? And 2 would be, how do you kind of push them down the right path?
So we support entrepreneurs at all different parts of their life cycle. This really is an ecosystem, a community. And so there's events and programming going on that are targeted at people who maybe are just getting started and want to get involved in technology or entrepreneurship. They want to get a job at a startup, or they've heard about entrepreneurship, they've heard about starting a company, but they're not really sure what it means. And then once they're serious and they're really working on something, they need to meet a lot of people. They need to meet the co-founders they're going to start their company with. They need to hire their first employees, find mentors that can give them advice and give them introductions to other people that can be helpful. And usually they need to find investors. And so working here at Capital Factory and being part of our accelerator program is all about making those connections and finding the right people that are going to help you push your business forward. And then we have a fund ourselves, so as we have this great insight to seeing all the companies that come through, we then can figure out which are the best ones and invest in those and continue to help them grow that way.
Gotcha. So let's say I'm interested in joining the accelerator or the incubator. How do I go about doing that?
Well, you apply online. We have a rolling application process, so pretty much every other month we have interviews and we're accepting new companies into the accelerator. And you know you're ready for the accelerator when you've got something that's starting to work. You've built a real product, you've got a few people using it, maybe you've got some initial revenue, but you're trying to figure out now, how do I take this thing that's kind of working and turn it into a real business and see that scale. And typically for that, you're going to need a bunch of different things, but you're often going to need to hire a lot of people. You're going to need to, if you're a first-time entrepreneur, or even sometimes as an experienced entrepreneur, it's helpful to get advice from other people with expertise in that industry or in that particular thing that you're trying to go do. And then often you need to raise funding and you want to get connected to angel investors and to venture capitalists that can help you grow the business and scale it.
Gotcha. So across all of your marketing with all the different things you guys do, what kind of content produce and what would you say is the most effective content you guys create?
You know, we churn out tons of content. Some of it is content that we produce ourselves, and then other content is stuff that happens through all the events and community programming that's happening here on a regular basis. And so to start with, we have a lot of video content. We have classrooms and meetup spaces and event spaces where every day there's probably almost a dozen different events going on, and almost every room has a video camera in the room for live streaming that event over Facebook Live or over YouTube and recording those, which all go into a big content library on YouTube. And so we have dozens of hours of content pretty much every week created, showing of technical classes and meetups and pitch competitions and other types of things that people can then watch either real time from home or can tune into and watch after the fact to learn from.
What role would you say data plays in your marketing strategy and maybe your strategy overall?
You know, data is a really interesting question because I think one of our biggest advantages is data, but the type of data that we work with is maybe a little non-traditional, not the first thing that you think of when you think about data. And so we, when we think about how we invest, one of our big advantages is that we think we know more about the companies than many other investors would. And we know that because we get data from a different set of sources, because rather than just meeting with them or seeing reports that they produce, well, we interact with them in all these different ways. We live with them in the co-working space, and we have our mentors interact with them and talk to them about their problems and give them advice and see how they respond and see what happens over time. And then we bring in corporate partners, big companies, and we introduce them, and we see what do the big companies think of them and how do they perform and which ones do the big companies want to do business with. And then we introduce them to other investors, and we see which ones do they like and who do they actually invest in. And that's one of the best signals of what somebody really thinks is what they do, and who do they sign a contract with or who do they invest in. And based on all of that data, we're able to decide who we should invest in. But at the end of it, it's not a quantitative score that gets produced. It's a little bit more subjective based on all this information that we have coming in over a period of time.
Excellent. What marketing trend are you most excited about right now?
I think from a marketing perspective, it's really conversational marketing is one of the most interesting things going on. I'm not sure that it's going to be the end-all be-all of everything, but we've got quite a few companies that we're working with, that we've invested in, and that are growing here and are doing very well, that are based on conversational marketing. I'd include in that chatbots that you're doing over text, as well as conversational marketing using a voice assistant like Alexa or Google Home. And I think that whole space is very, very interesting, and becomes a really new opportunity for reaching people and engaging with them in a way that maybe hasn't happened before.
Agree. So what does Capital Factory's marketing plan look like for 2018?
We're really an experiential marketing company. We do a lot of social media and a lot of email marketing, but primarily the way that we really engage people and bring them in is through events and programming that we put on. And so about 10% of that is original programming that we put together ourselves, and actually 90% of it is stuff we're doing with partners and other groups that we're inviting in. And so one part of our strategy is how do we get the most out of the stuff that we do, and then also how do we help magnify and get a synergy from all these great other things that are happening here. And so I'd really like to I feel like the video content library that I talked about before is a great asset we have, but we don't really do much to really be as smart as we can about it. And I think that's an opportunity that's missed. And then in addition to that, this year we'll be kicking off a statewide tour where every month we take a group of entrepreneurs and mentors, investors on a chartered bus from Austin to one of the other cities, to Dallas, Houston, or San Antonio. And we're going to try to make that a really exciting big event and try to make a lot of noise around it and really promote that and market that as we're doing that around the state.
Well, I'll definitely be on one of those buses, so I can't wait for that. Last question is, what general marketing advice would you give to our viewers?
I think for me, marketing is really about getting the message simplified, making it something that anybody can understand. I think a lot of what I consider to be amateur marketing ends up sounding like things that are really use a lot of big words and are sound like someone was trying to make something sound impressive, but actually I don't really understand it at all. And I think some of the best marketing doesn't actually sound like marketing. It sounds like really simple speak and really simple way of talking about things. And as I work with startups and we work on their pitch and how they talk about their company, a lot of times what we're working on is actually just simplifying things, just taking things away, not taking out the big words, broadening the concept, and helping it be easier for just anyone to understand.
Awesome. Josh, thanks so much. That's it for this episode. Make sure to follow further insights and stay posted for more interviews.
Thanks.
Thank you.